Hello, and welcome to Windivisible's Textbanking training. This training session will cover everything you need to know about how to start textbanking with us to contact voters this election season. In today's training, you'll learn about how to get started sending texts with Windivisible. You'll also learn the difference between the two tools we use to make all of our textbanking work possible, Slack and TextOut. We'll cover the purpose of each of these platforms and how they interact with each other. We'll also answer common questions and concerns about the program. Finally, we'll go over the technical language and procedures you need to be aware of in order to start using TextOut, including recommended replies, where to find them, and how to use them in your conversations with voters. Okay, let's go over the agenda. We've covered our introduction, and next we'll review Windivisible's texting strategy and why we are connecting with voters this election season via text. Then, we'll talk about the tools we use to make all of this work happen. First, we'll talk about TextOut, the platform that we use to send and receive text messages with voters. Then, we'll talk about Slack, the platform that we use to communicate between texters and the moderator team. We'll be sure to cover how to get set up on both tools. Finally, we'll cover all the next steps you need to know in order to get plugged in. Okay, let's dive in and go over our textbanking strategy. Textbanking is an effective way to have quality conversations with voters across the country. Through our peer-to-peer text platform, you'll be able to have one-on-one conversations with voters in key states. And what's great is that you can plug into our remote volunteering program from anywhere you are. This is a safe way both to volunteer as well as to connect with voters during physical distancing due to COVID. And we know that it makes a huge impact. Textbanking allows us to connect with voters who may not be accessible through other means of communication. Here's an example of how we've used textbanking in the past. Marie Newman was endorsed by Windivisible in her primary against a conservative Democrat in Illinois' 3rd Congressional District. We started texting voters in her district in late 2019, and by the March primary, we had sent more than 100,000 texts to voters. And we're proud to say that Marie won her primary in March. We know that when we have quality conversations with voters and build a relationship with them through our communications, we are earning their trust and increasing the likelihood that they'll turn out and cast their vote. Next, I'm going to go over our user requirements. These are expectations that we have of everyone participating in the textbanking program. First, we ask that everyone follow the opt-out guide and make sure that those who request to be opted out are promptly marked and removed accordingly. We know that many organizations and campaigns will be texting this cycle, and it's really important for any voter who wishes to be removed from our future communications, we take them off our list right away. Next, we've asked everyone to please use the provided program scripts available in TextOut and to follow the guidance and feedback from our moderator team. We also ask that everyone avoid any activity or any messaging that can be considered fraud or harassment or abuse. This kind of behavior has no place in our program. Finally, we ask that everyone respect the privacy of users and refrain from sharing of personal or sensitive information, including screenshots and recordings. This applies to voters, fellow volunteers, and all members of the texting program. Now I'm going to go through some common questions we receive from those who are first starting out in our texting program. First, we're texting registered voters in target states and districts across the country. We acquire these phone numbers by combining publicly available voter file information with third-party commercial data. And we target folks that we think are likely to be liberal, but sometimes you may be connected with an independent or a Republican. It is important that you approach every conversation with respect and courtesy. Next, we are texting for key races and priorities this cycle. First, we're targeting those in our Payback Project Senate states in order to flip Senate seats currently held by Republicans and help win back the majority in the Senate this November. Next, we'll be targeting key battleground states for the 2020 presidential election. We'll also be supporting Windivisible endorsed candidates in key races across the country. And finally, we'll be educating voters on different opportunities this cycle to cast their vote, including vote by mail and early voting. When are we texting, folks? Right now. Check out the schedule to see our upcoming programs and join in. And you may be wondering, when you reach a voter, what you're expected to say. That's where our workflows come in. A workflow is a visual diagram that will help you be able to guide your conversations based on how the voter responds. We know that voters may reply to our messages with a variety of answers, and we want to make sure that you are prepared to have a great conversation no matter how a voter responds. Here's an example of what a workflow looks like. In this example, we're sending out text messages encouraging voters to sign up to vote by mail. We can anticipate that voters may have a variety of responses. A voter might say that yes, they will sign up to vote by mail. Another voter might say that they're already signed up to vote by mail. Another voter might say no, or they might say they're not sure and ask for more information. Yet another voter might say that they prefer to cast their ballot in person. Finally, another voter might say that voting by mail is dangerous and they don't support it. That's a lot of different types of responses. We want to make sure you're ready for all of them. In TextOut, our team has written and uploaded what we call recommended replies, or RRs. These are pre-written scripts that are available for you to use to respond to voters based on their replies. In this workflow, you can see that everything in blue is an RR, and everything in white is how a voter may respond. Let's look at the diagram again. Say, for example, a voter responds that yes, they will sign up to vote by mail. You can then use the RR that provides them the link to sign up, as well as more instructions on how to submit their application. We then ask them to commit to requesting their ballot by the following day. And based on how they respond to that question, we'll then provide them more information on the ballot request deadline, and then ask them if they would like to be connected with their local Windivisible group. Depending on how they answer, we can then provide them the link to the list of the local groups in their area and encourage them to get connected. So that's just one example of a path in a workflow, but you can see that we've been able to have a rich conversation with a voter and move them up the ladder of engagement. Here's what the full workflow looks like. You can see that the RRs are in blue, already written for the different responses that you might receive. This is going to be your roadmap as you're having conversations with voters, and it's important to take a look at this workflow every time you text with us in order to understand the goals of the conversations and how to make sure you're staying on track. All right, y'all, that's an overview on the strategy for this work. Next, I'm going to turn to talk about the two tools that we use to make all of the texting magic happen. That's Slack and TextOut. Both of these platforms are required for you to use in order to participate in our texting program. First, I'm going to talk about TextOut. TextOut is the platform that we use to send and receive text messages with voters. We've been using TextOut all year, and we're really pleased with how easy it is to use and the ability to provide you with multiple pre-written scripts and data tags to quickly respond to voters and update their records. You access TextOut through your internet browser. I do want to note that TextOut works best on a computer that can be either a desktop or a laptop, but you cannot use TextOut on your phone or on a tablet. Finally, TextOut is private. It does not use your personal phone number, and voters will not see your last name. Next, let's talk about Slack. Slack is the place for real-time communication between and among texters and our moderator team. It's where we post updates about all of our texting programming and help answer your questions in real time. You can access Slack through your internet browser, or you can download the Slack app from your computer or for your phone. If you haven't used the platform before, Slack has lots of online tutorials and recorded trainings to help get you quickly set up. Let's go through a few more common questions. We're really excited about all of the candidates we'll be texting for and all of the voter education we'll be running, such as vote by mail. We recommend, if you're really excited about an issue or a candidate, check our texting schedule. That way you can join on the day that we're running program for that race or in that state. If you want to text whenever you're available, that's also welcome too. Just join us in Slack anytime. In terms of how much time you should plan to spend texting, we ask that folks plan to spend about 2 hours per shift. However, we know that some texts may come in after that 2-hour period. If you're texting into the evening, it's a good practice to check text out the following morning for any responses that may have come in from voters overnight. We want to make sure we're following up with all voters who contact us as quickly as we can. When you're starting out with the program, you'll receive texts in batches of 100 or 200 at a time. But over the course of your shift, you'll be able to send on average at least several hundred text messages. And as you send more texts with us and improve your skills, you'll be able to send more text messages per batch. On average, our programs have about a 20% response rate. That means that for every 100 text messages you send out, you can expect about 20 responses. Responses won't come in all at once though, they'll trickle in over time, so don't worry about having to hold multiple conversations all at once. Alright, before we jump in on the nitty-gritty of the onboarding process, I want to take time to discuss our moderator team and the ways that they're ready to support you. Our moderators are experienced texters who are available in Slack to answer your questions as you're texting with voters. They can help you determine how to respond to voters and the best practices for using Slack and using TextOut. Moderators also take time to review your text messages as you send your batches. This is intended to help you get better at texting over time. And as you have more and more conversations, you'll grow your expertise, and our most experienced texters don't even need to wait to have their batches approved, so they can send as many text messages as they want. Now we're going to go through the step-by-step process on how to get started texting. First, you'll receive a link to join our Windivisible Text Slack. Once you join our Slack, you're placed into a channel called Welcome. In the Welcome channel, a series of messages from an app called GreetBot and from our moderators will help guide you through the onboarding process. You'll need to review our texting guide and complete a quiz to confirm you've reviewed all of the materials. Once you complete the quiz, please post in Slack to let us know, and a moderator will move you on to the next step. Here are some screenshots of what that process looks like in Slack. So this is what it looks like when you first sign into Slack with a new account. As you can see, it's asking you to create a profile, and we'd love for you to add a fun picture to your account. You will see on the left-hand side of the screen in the plum column, automatically you're added to the Welcome channel, and it's highlighted to indicate that you have a message. So go ahead and click on Welcome. This is what it looks like when you join the Welcome channel. And as you can see, GreetBot has left me a message. GreetBot is the automated responder that moderators have set up to help guide you through the onboarding process. And it outlines the next 3 steps for you. We ask that folks spend some time reviewing the texting guide, and then complete a short quiz, and then return to the Welcome channel. After you've read the guide and completed the quiz, you'll then come back to the Welcome channel and post a message that lets the moderators know you're ready to move on. When you see a star, it means the moderator is on their way to help. They are going to be the ones to move you on to the next step in the process. You'll notice here it says 1 reply. When you click on the word reply, it shows you the message the moderator has left you. In this case, the moderator has posted below your original post, saying, "Welcome, my name is Carly and I'm here to help. We are texting for an endorsed candidate today. I will add you to that channel for next steps." You will see the channel bolded on the left-hand side of the screen, and then you can go ahead and click on it to jump into the new channel. So you'll go and you'll click on that new channel, and once you've entered, another GreetBot pops up with more instructions. Let's take a look at this next set of instructions. This time, it's telling me to set up a Slack account so I can begin texting, and it will provide you the link to get started in TextOut. Here are a few more important tips on getting started in Slack. When you're looking for moderators, you can check who is a moderator by their Slack name. They will have the word moderator next to their name. Next, we ask that you set up your Slack account and your TextOut account under the same name. We understand that some folks will want to use a nickname, and that's perfectly fine. We just ask that you use the same first and last name across both platforms. This is especially important in Slack, as many people are likely to have the same first name. Remember that voters will not see your last name when you're texting with them. Lastly, it's recommended that you set up modifications in Slack so that you'll get a little alert when you have a message from a moderator or if there's an important update. Again, the moderators are here to help. As you saw in the example earlier, moderators use a star and check system. The star means that your question has been seen by a moderator and they are going to reply to you in a thread. When the conversation and issue is resolved, the moderator will leave a check mark to indicate that it is complete. This helps make sure no questions get skipped or missed. And if you have another question, just create a new post. Moderators will start the process over again. All right, y'all. Now let's switch gears and move out of Slack in order to start talking about how to get set up in TextOut. Remember that your invitation to TextOut already came to you in Slack. Let's go back and review the GreetBot message that was left for you when you joined the texting channel. The GreetBot message included the link to join TextOut. And if you've used TextOut in the past for another campaign or another organization, that's totally fine. Once you click on the link, you'll just be asked to log into your existing account. Once you've created your TextOut account, the application will walk you through a guided demo. The demo will cover all the basics on using TextOut for the first time. It takes about 10 minutes to complete the demo, so please take your time and don't rush through it. You'll also see a list of the current active programs, and you'll be able to click on the open program for the day. Once you click on the program, you can click Start Texting, and then click to request your first batch of text messages. Finally, return to Slack and post in the texting channel so the moderators know you've requested your first batch. This is so moderators know you're set up in both Slack and in TextOut, and as a first-time texter, they'll be able to approve your request in the queue right away. You only need to do this for your first batch with us. After your first batch, you don't need to post in Slack. We'll just approve you when you request in TextOut. Now I'm going to go through some screenshots on what this process looks like in TextOut. First, you'll want to enter the Windivisible workspace. As a reminder, there are other campaigns and other groups also using TextOut. You'll be able to find Windivisible's workspace listed by name. Click Join to enter our workspace. Next, you'll see a page that lists all of our active programs. These are the texting campaigns that we're either currently running or we've recently completed. Look out for the active program with the green Open tag next to the name, which indicates that the program is currently running and that you're able to request text for it. I also want to note, on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see your feedback section in TextOut. As moderators review your text messages, they will leave you notes in TextOut to indicate how you're doing and if they have any recommendations for how to improve. It's important to review this feedback as soon as it's left for you. When you receive new feedback from a moderator, you'll get a notification in TextOut in the upper right corner of the screen. Now, going back to the active programs, if you're ready to request your first batch, just click on the name of the hyperlinked active program that's listed as open. Once you click on the name of the program, you'll come to the program page. You can see a green button that says Start Texting. When you're ready to request your first batch of texts, you can click on that button and it will take you to your texting inbox. Also on this page, you can see in the upper right corner of the screen is a blue information button. When you click on that blue button with the eye, you'll see the Read Me section of our texting program. This covers everything you need to know in order to start texting with the program and gives you really important context on the candidates, on the state or district, and other crucial information to be aware of as you're texting with voters. Most importantly, this will be the place to find that workflow diagram that you'll be using to guide your conversations. We recommend keeping a copy of the workflow open either in a separate window or a tab as you're texting. Once you click Start Texting, you'll be taken to your texting inbox. The first step is to click the green button on the left that says Request Texts. Once you click on that button, you will automatically send a notification to our moderator team that you have requested a batch of text messages. It will put you into the approvals queue. Please note that approvals are conducted manually, so moderators take time to review these requests. Again, after you submit your requests, please go back into Slack and post to the moderators that you're a first-time texter and you've requested your first batch of text messages. That will help ensure quick approval in the queue. Once a moderator has approved your request, you will see in the texting inbox page that there are some things that will change. The button will change to say Send Initial, and it will indicate how many text messages you have to send. The button will also include a countdown with every text that you send out, and each time you click on that button, you are sending out a text message to a voter. You will need to click through that button as many times as you've been approved. So if you've been approved for 100 text messages, you'll need to click 100 times. Below the button, you can also see a preview of the message that's being sent out to the voter. You can see that we address the voter by their first name, and we include your first name to indicate that you're a volunteer making the contact. And we include information about who we are and why we're contacting them. Once you have clicked through that button till the end, you will have sent out your very first batch of text messages. That's great! You've just sent out your first batch of text messages with us, and hopefully the voters are starting to respond to your messages. As a reminder, everything you need in order to respond is already loaded for you in TextOut. Make sure to keep the workflow open in order to track how to respond to voters based on the information that they provide you. Here's an example of what it will look like to find your recommended replies in TextOut. You can see that your conversation will be on the left-hand side of the screen, and it looks a lot like text message conversations do on your phone. Your responses will be on one side of the screen, and the voters' replies will be on the other side of the screen. And all of the recommended replies will be available on the right-hand side of the screen. As a reminder, there are dozens of preloaded responses for you in TextOut, including for wrong numbers and for opt-out requests. I want to make a note that some of these RRs also include something called a data tag. Data tags help us update our records for the voters quickly and efficiently to make sure that we're always using the latest information based on what they provide us. It's a shorthand way for us to track important data related to the individuals we're connecting with. You can see an example of a data tag in the same screenshot. These blue tags will indicate different labels such as support, opposed, moved, or other types of dispositions. Now let's talk about how to sort and review the different RRs available for you in TextOut. First, you can see in the screenshot that it is currently set to wrong number. You can toggle between the different types of RRs using the gray buttons at the top of the list. We have different types of wrong number responses in order to fit the different kinds of conversations you might have with a voter. For example, a voter might tell you both that you have reached the wrong number and that they're supporting our endorsed candidate. That will require a different response than, say, a voter who indicated that we reached the wrong number and they don't live in the district that we're targeting. Next, you can see that the RR is now listed to different opt-out responses. Again, this is to provide you different options for these responses in order to best fit the conversation. We are legally required to send out a notification to those who request to be opted out in order to confirm that we are removing them from future contacts. You can also see some more examples of different data tags in these RRs. This is to make sure we're capturing all the different data points that a voter might provide in their responses. Finally, you can see how to search for different RRs using the search box in order to find RRs related to specific issues or reply types. Just type in what you're looking for, and then the RRs related with that specific text will pop up. You can also use the blue button in the upper right called Clear Filter, which will again show you all of the replies without any filtering. Now let's go over some different types of replies that you might receive from a voter. First, here we have a voter who indicates that they're pro-Trump. We don't opt out Republicans or pro-Trump voters just because they are opposed to our message. We only opt out those who explicitly ask to be removed. In case you connect with a Trump voter, will have an RR already loaded for you to use in TextOut. Next, you can see an example of a voter who curses or swears at us. Again, we don't opt out folks who are angry at us just because they use foul language. We only opt out those who request to be removed. And we have RRs already loaded for you in TextOut in case you run into folks like this. Oftentimes, they assume that we're a bot, so that when you reply to indicate that you're another person, in fact on the other side of the conversation, the voter is often very apologetic. Finally, you can see an example of a very specific question, one that we're not likely to have an RR ready for you to use. In case that happens, this is a great time to check in with the moderator team on how to respond to that. If you ever feel like you need to edit an RR, or you're not finding an RR that makes sense for the voter's question or response, we recommend you check in with the moderator team in Slack to help you draft a new reply to the voter. As you're getting started, we do not recommend making edits to the RRs without first checking with a moderator. Next, in case you reach a voter who doesn't speak English, you're able to reassign the conversation, and another texter will jump in to follow up with them. All right, y'all, we're in the home stretch. So, a few final reminders on how to be successful at TextOut. First, make sure to study the workflow before you send your initial outbound messages, and be clear about the goals of the program. Next, you must make sure that all of your initial messages are sent before you can request another batch. We recommend waiting a few minutes between batches to make sure you're responding to any voters who texted you back. Remember, we're going for quality over quantity in these conversations. Next, keep in mind that the program is not always open. Assignments are only available during the times listed in our texting schedule. We try our best to accommodate different times, but please note we cannot give assignments outside of the hours listed in our schedule. Also, TextEd itself only allows text messages to be sent between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. into the time zone we're texting into. So if you have any responses outside of those hours, please make sure to check in the following day as soon as possible to respond to any voters who may have texted overnight. Finally, we encourage you to ask questions of our moderator team. They're excited to help work with you and answer your questions and have great conversations, and it helps us build a strong learning community. Thanks so much for watching and for joining our program. We're looking forward to seeing you in Slack.